The undisputed super middleweight throne was never meant to be easy to defend, but on this night, under the bright spectacle of a Saudi-hosted Cinco de Mayo celebration, the stakes felt heavier than ever. Across the ring stood a challenger who, at least on paper, represented something dangerous, an awkward stylist, a Cuban technician with enough amateur pedigree to make any champion uncomfortable. Yet the real question hovering over the arena wasn't whether William Scull had talent. It was whether he had the courage to seize the moment, or whether he would simply survive it. Because when you share a ring with Canelo Alvarez, survival and victory are two very different things. From the opening bell, the contrast in intentions became immediately visible. Canelo stood planted, composed, stalking with the confidence of a man who had ruled divisions and dismantled champions. Scull, meanwhile, moved with restless energy, switching stances, circling, probing with jabs that rarely committed to real danger. The Cuban's footwork was sharp, his reflexes quick, but there was a hesitation baked into his offense, a reluctance to engage that would soon define the narrative of the fight. Analysts ringside noted the tension early. Scull, traditionally a slow starter, needed early rounds to build confidence, yet stepping forward against Canelo meant walking into counters from one of boxing's most precise punchers. Canelo, as always, was methodical. He didn't chase recklessly. He didn't waste punches. Every feint, every step, every subtle shift of his shoulders served a purpose. He studied Scull like a puzzle, waiting for openings rather than forcing them. That patience has been forged over years of elite competition, bouts against champions who demanded perfection. Against a mover like Scull, patience wasn't just strategy, it was necessity. By the second round, the pattern had begun to crystallize. Scull bounced in and out, flicking jabs, occasionally throwing a right hand with respectable speed. But the shots lacked authority. Canelo responded with compact counters, short crosses, digging body shots, precise hooks that thudded with intent even when partially blocked. The crowd sensed the difference immediately. One fighter was trying to win exchanges. The other was trying to avoid them. Commentators debated whether Scull's movement could frustrate the champion. Cuban boxing tradition has long produced elusive technicians capable of neutralizing aggression. But frustration alone doesn't win rounds, not against someone with Canelo's ring IQ. The Mexican star began cutting the ring more effectively by the third, stepping laterally, forcing Scull toward the ropes, and investing heavily to the body whenever contact was made. Body shots have always been a signature weapon in Canelo's arsenal, and against a constantly moving opponent, they served a dual purpose, scoring points while slowly draining mobility. Scull did have moments, brief flashes where his athleticism surfaced. A sharp right hand here, a quick uppercut there. Enough to remind observers that he wasn't outclassed physically. But the psychological dynamic was unmistakable. Even when he landed, he retreated immediately, prioritizing defense over follow-up. It created the impression that he feared prolonged exchanges, and against a champion known for punishing hesitation, that perception mattered. As rounds accumulated, the conversation shifted from tactics to urgency. Trainers urged Canelo to increase pressure, hinting at the possibility of a stoppage. After all, the champion had stopped several recent opponents, and Scull's reluctance to engage seemed like an invitation. Yet inside the ring, Canelo remained disciplined. He recognized the risk of overcommitting against a mobile opponent. Instead, he continued accumulating damage, particularly downstairs, where punches are less visible but deeply consequential. By the middle rounds, the statistics painted a clear picture. Scull was throwing but not landing cleanly. Canelo, though less active, was landing with authority, especially to the body. And in boxing scoring, clean, effective punching outweighs volume, without impact. The champion's experience showed in how he conserved energy, choosing moments rather than chasing them. There was also an emotional undercurrent building. Fans, many of whom had come expecting fireworks, grew restless. Movement without engagement can quickly shift from tactical to frustrating for spectators. The referee even intervened verbally at one point, urging more action. It was a rare moment that captured the broader mood. This fight had the ingredients for drama, but only one man seemed willing to provide it. Still, Scull wasn't entirely passive. In certain rounds, he increased activity just enough to create debate. A competitive fifth round, for instance, saw him land a crisp combination that briefly energized his corner. Yet consistency remained absent. Each time momentum seemed possible, he reverted to evasiveness. Meanwhile, Canelo's body work continued. Hooks to the ribs, straight shots to the midsection, punches that don't always draw cheers, but quietly secure victories. As the championship rounds approached, fatigue dynamics became apparent. Scull remained physically conditioned, his movement didn't collapse, but his offense never escalated to the level needed to change the fight's trajectory. Canelo, conversely, maintained steady pressure without appearing desperate. It was the demeanor of a veteran who understood he was ahead. Observers ringside even noted the presence of elite fighters watching, analyzing. In modern boxing, performances aren't judged only by results, but by how they project toward future megafights. This bout, though tactically complex, lacked the explosive moments that typically define Canelo showcases. Yet dominance doesn't always require knockouts. Sometimes it manifests in control, spatial control, tempo control, psychological control, and in those dimensions, Canelo remained superior. By the 10th round, the narrative had solidified. Scull's strategy had succeeded in one sense. He avoided catastrophic damage. But he failed in the more important objective, winning rounds. Canelo's forward march, punctuated by body combinations and occasional headshots, continued to accumulate scoring advantages. Even when exchanges were sparse, judges tend to favor the fighter dictating geography and landing the more telling blows. Entering the final round, there was still a faint hope among spectators for late drama. Championship fights often produce sudden momentum swings, but instead, the closing moments mirrored the earlier pattern. Scull circled. Canelo stalked. A few exchanges occurred, but nothing that threatened the established hierarchy. When the final bell sounded, the outcome felt inevitable. The scorecards confirmed it. A unanimous decision victory for Canelo Alvarez. Another defense. Another successful night atop the division. Not his most spectacular performance, perhaps, but a professional one. Disciplined, controlled, and effective against a stylistically difficult opponent. For Scull, the fight became a lesson in opportunity. Elite boxing isn't only about skill, it's about conviction. Facing a superstar demands risk, because caution rarely dethrones champions. He demonstrated athleticism and durability, but the hesitation that protected him also prevented him from seizing history. For Canelo, the victory reinforced his status as the division's measuring stick. Even when opponents refuse to engage, he finds ways to impose authority through patience, ring cutting, and body work that reflects years of refinement. Great fighters don't just win spectacularly, they win consistently, adapting to whatever challenge appears across the ropes. And so the undisputed king walked away with every belt still in his possession, the Saudi celebration intact, and the boxing world already speculating about what comes next. Because with champions of this magnitude, every fight is both an ending and a beginning, another chapter closed, another storyline waiting to ignite. Now the question turns to you. Did William Scull fight smart? Or did he fight scared? Could anyone have approached Canelo differently that night? And who should challenge the undisputed champion next? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dive boxing stories and fight analysis.